I'll keep it to part 2. There's no reason why we should do this for 3 parts.
No, but this is so good. You don't understand how much, and this is like the purpose of like my podcast and stuff, to talk about things that people they shy away from. And so, but people are out here really suffering behind closed doors.
Yeah, we are. Unnecessarily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can start the part 2.
Part 2.
We're talking about Jacob.
Yeah, I think, when I reflect back, and even in the midst of my infertility experience, what I was saying is that I think of the story of Jacob and that part of the Bible where it describes him wrestling with the angel. And he said, I will not let go until you bless me. Or I will not let go until you change my name, right? And so he wrestled. And it wasn't like he wrestled for like an hour and then it was over. He wrestled all night. And I look at that story in regards to what it was for me.
Yeah.
Like, infertility is a wrestling with God.
Wow.
And you don't let go until he changes your name to a mother. And that's what it was for me, where in the sense it's like, I'm not going to let you go until you change my name. And I am called a mom.
Right.
And however long or however hard or however exhausting that wrestling is, I must endure. Because I know that my blessing is at the other side of it. And the best part of that scene with the angel and Jacob was that he was impaired in the midst of it. He touched his hip and it broke his hip. And literally, I always feel like that infertility experience was my impairment. That even in the midst of what I was going through, there was a dysfunction. There was a weakness, right? And in spite of the weakness, it wasn't like, oh, I broke my hip. I'm gonna stop. I'm gonna let go because I gotta go fix something. He's like, oh yeah, I'm injured. I'm hurt. I'm weak. I'm down. But I'm gonna hold on to you because I believe in you. Wow. And I think that when we think of all of these issues that are so sensitive, fertility issues are a very soft, tender issue. Yeah. But you must remember that in spite of it, God loves you. Yeah. And the Holy Spirit still has a work to do in you through this season. Wow. And you have to possibly come to a point where if it never happens, you will still face God. I think Jacob would have kept on going because he wanted that connection with him so much so. Wow. And so for women who are going through this, you may have to look at it from a different angle. Is it that you want the outcome? Or is it that you want the deepening of the relationship? Because in the midst of getting closer to Christ, it will therefore refine you and grow in you something beyond your imagination. Yeah. And so yes, I have a baby, I have 2 from that experience, but I have something even deeper than that. I have an awareness of myself, a close relationship with my husband. I have a whole new course in life. I've been put on a totally different path in life.
So you becoming a doula was like when you were facing infertility?
Yes. So all of that, it was all within that time frame. Wow. I became a doula in 2017. Wow. That's the same 1-year goal that I put on God because I wasn't getting pregnant. So I was like, let me go and learn something. Yeah, literally, I did. And so I did my doula training in October 2017. I got pregnant in December 2017. Wow. And I had my baby the following year. And it has become a catalyst for me to now becoming a nurse and then hopefully maybe becoming a midwife. And this is all in relation to women's health issues. I am not, and I say all of what I'm saying and suggesting, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a midwife, I'm not even a nurse yet, I'm not a medical professional. But I don't think you have to be a medical professional to know how to advocate for yourself, to know what questions to ask, to know what is quality research, to know how to approach your situation accordingly. And that's really what I did. I didn't do anything spectacular. It was just a lot of faith and a lot of intense intentional pursuit behind the scenes. So I was going to my doctor every few months. I was always asking a million questions. When they did my surgery, I had all my operation notes. Like, I was very, very, very hyper active. I was a very active participant in my healthcare. And I think for a lot of us, as women, we really just don't really pay attention to these things. We're just like, oh, I went to the doctor, they said I'm fine. Or, oh, you know, they said I need this, but, you know, it's like we're kind of passive about these things. And then even looking at the grand scheme of things, health is not just like going to your provider and, you know, going to your pap smear and checking it off. It's also like, how do you care for your stress? How do you handle stress? How do you eat? How do you maintain your general health? All of those factors are a part of it. And so some people don't like to hear like losing 10 pounds. You know, we can get very, you know, sensitive about like the possibility that maybe a little weight loss may do our body good. Maybe changing our diet may do our body good. But the reality is that you don't know until you try. And so like, you want to not just focus on like this uterus of yours, but just focus on your entire well-being. Is your job, you know, putting you in a very bad mental state? Are you eating well, sleeping well? Are you in the right relationships that are feeding your spirit and your body? Like everything counts. Everything counts. And time and patience, it counts too.
And you know what? I'm even happy that you brought up the food aspect, because we were talking about this before recording again. Just how food can really affect you as a woman. I know so many people that are dealing with fibroids, or they're having cysts. There are all these things going on within their bodies. And one thing I've noticed through my personal research is that how food and the hormones, even in the food, like meat, cheese, milk, and all that stuff, how it can cause the fibroids, or whatever the case may be, to like multiply and to make things like 10 times worse. So I think that even a lot of times too, a lot of women don't even know the importance of diet, right? Certain foods that they should probably stay away from, or really try to minimize and stuff.
It's so true. And when I was going through it, I was very like desperate. So I was trying to find the fibroid diets and certain foods. And I remember even buying like some guide, some fibroid elimination diet guide, right? And girl, I opened up that book and I was like, there's no way I could do this. Like the foods that she was mentioning, I had not even seen it before. I hadn't even heard of it. So I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, I have to eat like this to get that. It was, it's very daunting.
It's annoying.
It is.
It's like, what type of lifestyle is this?
It's very depressing.
It is.
And then not even just that, if you think about like something like PCOS, I even forgot to mention, another issue pertaining to PCOS is insulin resistance.
What's insulin?
Insulin resistance it's related to your metabolic hormones, your metabolic system. Think of like something like diabetes. Diabetes is a resulting factor of insulin resistance. I'm not going to go into details about insulin resistance, but you can look it up, and what it is that your metabolism is at a dysfunction. And a lot of dysfunction with your metabolism has to do with weight gain and weight loss. Like either you're putting on weight too easily, or it's hard for you to lose weight. So some girls like, well, I tried a diet and I can't lose weight. It could be a symptom of the insulin resistance. And so looking at the big picture, knowing that Black women are the most affected when it comes to something like fibroids, the most. 7 out of 8 Black women will have fibroids.
Wow.
That's a fact. And they don't know why. They won't research it, or they won't say it, or they're honest and we really don't know why. But maybe we could start with like eating foods that are rich in certain nutrients that will help with this hormonal imbalance. So another issue with fibroids is being deficient in things like iron, being deficient in vitamin D, being deficient and some other nutrients. Vitamin D is a huge one, which is interesting because, you know, vitamin D, we get it from the sun. We should be outside in the sun more often.
But that helps us.
But you know, we don't want to be. And so if we're not, maybe we need to take a supplement. And you may not even know your vitamin D levels until you get a blood draw. So maybe if you're going through fibroids, you may want to ask your doctor, hey, can I check my vitamin D? Because also you need vitamin D for fertility. And so for some women, just taking an extra dose of vitamin D can boost their chances of fertility. For other women, because you're bleeding so much from the fibroids, your iron is low. And so you may not know that, but if you're feeling tired and exhausted all the time, you can't even go up a flight of stairs, you want to take a nap every hour, you might want to check your iron, and you might need to get on a supplement to boost that, because you need iron for sustaining a pregnancy and having a healthy pregnancy. So these are all intertwined. You may not really know until you put your foot down and you press on it. And sometimes just by adding some supplements or eating certain foods and being consistent with that, it can change. Yeah, being consistent, because we can get really good for a month or 2 or 3, but we have to change our lives. You know, I remember that year I was trying to get pregnant. I just decided to go on a weight loss journey, and I wasn't like overweight. Well, I guess according to BMI I was, but it wasn't like I was visibly obese or anything. It's just like, you know, I could probably shave a few pounds off. And I didn't even know that was connected to, you know, my reproductive health. I just wanted to look better. And I did. It took me like a year to lose like 10 pounds. So it's not like, you know, it's not to say like you get, you know, you lose the weight quickly, but you adopt a lifestyle that will make it a routine where the outcome, a consequence of that adoption is weight loss. It's not like you're pursuing it, but you're changing your life so much that as a result you will lose the weight. And I think if we can approach it from that perspective, instead of saying, I have fibroids, I gotta lose weight, and then now you're like running on the treadmill, you're not going to do that every day for the rest of your life. But maybe if you make it a habit every 3 days, or 3 times a week, I work out, you know, I change my diet here and there, you know, you're losing weight and you maintain that weight loss. And I did lose that weight. Maybe that contributed to me getting pregnant. I don't know. But it didn't hurt, because now I have a desire and a willingness to work out and eat well. So it's really about being self-aware and being honest with yourself in terms of what can I control? Right? You may not be able to control these fibroids. You can control what you eat. You can control how much, you know, water you're drinking. You can control what you take in your mind, what you see, what you think. You can control, you know, how you adopt a relationship with family and friends and God. So do what you can, and then let God, you know, do the rest. I know it sounds so cliche, but it's real. Like, just do what you can and do it. Do it. You know, sometimes we're like, oh, I gotta, and we're talking, we're thinking about it,
but we're not actually doing
one foot in front of the other. These are habits that will follow you forever. I honestly think that even just inadvertently pursuing weight loss, it helped me even having healthy pregnancies. It helped me even afterwards, you know, coming back to myself after delivery. It's a habit that you need to instill. And weight loss is one thing. It's not everything, but it's something. You know, and with fibroids, because they don't know or they're not going to research it, I don't think it's ever wrong to change your diet if you know you should and you can, right? So even if it doesn't do anything for the fibroids, it will do something for your overall health. So it's something to think about.
Wow. I don't even know what to say. Wow, Mabel. Well, let me ask you this. What would be your advice to, I mean, you've already given it, honestly, to like those that are in waiting or, you know, waiting to get pregnant. But what advice would you give to those like friends and family members that know people that are dealing with this? Dealing with infertility. Friends,
family, I think what you can do for a loved one who may be going through it, whether you know it or not, 'cause sometimes we assume. But I think stay on the outskirts. Right? It's such a tender experience for women and even their partners that trying to insert anything that is not welcome is just not necessary. So unless she comes to you and opens up to you, I don't think it's it's appropriate to try to like be in their face, even if it's well-intentioned, right? Because we do have good intentions. We're like, I'm praying for you. She doesn't have to know.
She really
if you're really praying for her, pray. And really pray. And then when the time comes, then you can say, this is what I've been actively praying for this. And that's the thing. Sometimes as family and friends, we want it for them so bad. You don't want it as much as her. You don't. You don't. You don't want it as much as her. And so it's appropriate to respect that space, no matter who you are. This can be your blood sister, right? Unless she comes to you, do not interject, because you may catch her on the wrong day. You may catch her at a time where she was just rising out of the depression, and you've now reminded her to take her back into it. And with this day and age of social media, where people are announcing pregnancies and showing their fashionable baby bumps, like it's already in her face, right? I got married, you know, this happened about 5 or so years ago, and even then Instagram wasn't what it was 5 years ago. So it wasn't like, you know, I could avoid it to an extent, right? But I can imagine what it's like for a young girl today who really wants to be pregnant and have a baby. Maybe you got married amongst your peers. It's a very emotional process. So for loved ones, love from afar. And I think a woman going through that issue will understand that. And sometimes it's such an isolating experience too. So part of her experience may feel like nobody cares, right? Or nobody's, you know, nobody's praying for me. She may feel like, oh, you don't care because you're not bringing it up. And it, like I said, it's so sensitive. Just give that girl time. Give her time. Really care for her from the outside. Don't make comments, you know, about her body, and don't make comments about like what so-and-so is going through. You know, play it by ear. And then of course, if you are really close with her and she does open up, you know, still follow her lead, right? So it's not like she opened up about being infertile and then now it's every time you are on the phone, how are the fibroids? So what's going on this month? So what happened? Like, don't be nosy either, right?
Or
so like, so if she does open up, follow her lead. Like if she brings it up or she addresses it, that's fine. But if she doesn't, and you already know, and she has opened up, it doesn't give you liberty to therefore now make it the focal point, because it is the focal point of her life. It's not the focal point of your friendship or your relationship. And so, like for me, when I had that girlfriend who was going through that issue, she brought it up to me. And so then I felt safe enough to like join in with her, right? But if she didn't open up about it, I wasn't gonna press. I probably wouldn't have even known. And so I thank God that she opened up to me and felt comfortable enough, because then now I had a friend, and that's all I needed. So for some of these women, they have their support in other means. Just because she's not talking to you about it doesn't mean she doesn't feel fulfilled from somebody else. And that's okay. Does that make sense?
No, that makes sense.
And that's okay. So, you know, I think I probably mentioned it to my prayer circle one time, and we prayed about it one time.
Wow.
And that was it. But I'm sure over the years they were, you know, interceding on my behalf, but it wasn't like it was because I opened up to them that one time. They were always like pushing and nudging and asking. No. And I love my girls for that. I love them for that. I know they were praying on my behalf, and they were genuinely happy for me when they found I got pregnant. And they've been with me from then on. A lot of them have hired me as their doula, and it's such a full circle moment. So as a girlfriend to another girlfriend who's going through it, just if you believe, intercede on her behalf and be consistent. Right? Keep her in prayer.